Well, hold on. Ooh. So, hello everyone, and welcome to last week's episode of Between the Pond and the Hard Place. I'm Stephen.
Hey,
Rock
and
and
I'm
roll.
Chris Kirkpatrick, and better late than never.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I would typically just kick this off right away because it's
Yeah.
just so. Now my headphones are falling off.
I knew that you would have that on for probably about 30 seconds.
I mean, I thought about wearing it the whole day, or the whole day. No, like I'm wearing this for a podcast tonight, everybody at Walmart. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there real quick because I bought these cheap masks. There's like 2 or 3 of them I have, and they're like $2, less than like $2.20, whatever it is. And I got a Sharpie, and I'm like, I'm gonna make some cool masks. And eventually, my goal is to like have every KISS member as one of these, and somehow hang them up on the wall somehow, and like in a row. I tried hanging it up on a nail, but I'm going to have to do something else because it's just an elastic band. There's nowhere to really hang it like that, so I'm going to have to figure something out there. But
my youngest daughter is the hugest KISS fan.
Yeah, I can make these.
You can make.
I know eventually. I could, but I know eventually the Sharpie would wear off, so I'll have to find a better way to do it, like maybe model car paint and clear coat over it or something like that. But I'm not that skilled. I'm skilled enough to be able to draw this because I did have a picture as a reference, and I used a pencil because I found that what is the pencil? Is that graphite? Yeah, it erases fairly easily from the surface of the mask. So I was like, okay. So I drew it out in a stencil and then just took a Sharpie and carefully used an ultra fine point and did the outline and just filled it all in.
I mean, it turned out really good.
I mean, if you really microanalyze it, which I've done, you can find little imperfections, like on the left side here, right? Yeah, the left side of the mask, the little point touching the edge, but on the opposite side, there's a little bit of space, and but overall, I think, it's easier to draw a flat image. And I noticed that this point is lower than this point. Now I can't unsee that. But anyway, it's not perfect, but it's so much harder to draw that pattern on an actual 3D surface than on a flat piece of paper.
Well, Stephen, I didn't know that you were so crafty.
I mean, sometimes, Uncle Fester. Sorry, I read the comment before the screen, everybody. I do have a blank one. I have a blank one laying around somewhere. But just nothing on it. So it really does look like Uncle Fester. But yeah, everybody, I want to apologize for last week because we were supposed to do this show then, and I fell asleep like 6 o'clock and didn't wake up until like 10 something. So we're here to talk about what we were going to talk about last week, when that's She-Hulk. And I think it's better this time because we can talk about the finale now.
No, I think
last week we couldn't.
While I totally hated getting stood up for last week's show, fact is, you're right. I think that timing-wise, doing it now just really makes a lot of sense. So we can talk about both episodes 8 and 9.
Yeah, not to cut you off, I want to mention something here. This Fritz Ward. Okay, when I asked to be removed from a group, I shouldn't still get notifications for a podcast or anything else. Please take me off your list. And we're not normally negative on this show, but you know what? If you were removed from a group, then don't follow it. You can go in and unfollow yourself because, number one, this isn't broadcasting in the group. This is on the page. So you must have liked our page, which we appreciate. But if you don't want to follow it anymore, all you have to do is go and unlike it, unfollow it. That's on you to do. So I'm sorry, but that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And chances are, if we removed you, then you were a complete ass. So, but not to discourage anybody else from being on there, but
right.
But to take the time to sit and watch and then comment and do all this, like for someone that wants to distance yourself from it, you're sure here, which thanks for the view.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about something more positive now.
Yeah. What a way to start it off.
I know. So She-Hulk, I think it's interesting how, they took, I think, a total of 9 episodes. I think all
Yep.
said and done, right now the IMDb has the show set at 5.1 out of 10, which I think is higher than it was when it first started.
Okay.
It's got a Rotten Tomato score of 87%, which is, I think it's higher than I would have thought it would have been.
Yeah. Was that the 81? Is that the audience score or the critic score?
So 87 was just the Rotten Tomato score. Let me see what it says here.
Because I know sometimes they'll have like the Rotten Tomatoes like audience, or maybe I'm thinking of something else. It'll have like an audience and then a critic.
So I'm glad that you asked that. 87% is the average tomato meter. 35% is the average audience score. So
see, yeah, the 35 doesn't surprise me as much as, I mean, I disagree with that number, but with the people kind of like, just talking crap about it, like that number.
Right.
Yeah. But I love the show. I think it's way higher than a 30 something. I would give it at least a 70, like for my own personal, or an 80. If I were more familiar with the character in the comics, I probably would give it a higher score. But just not knowing it, going in blind, I think 70 is good.
I mean, what I know of the character and what it's gotten as far as, how it's set up in the comic book is that Jen Walters, he does a lot of fourth wall breaking even in the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's a part in the original comic where like she rips through the pages of the comic book and talks directly to the reader. So again, that is certainly something that that happens a lot in the original comic. So I'm not surprised that they decided to go and do that.
No, that's great. I love that,
particularly in the finale. So yeah.
Just go into this for a second. We didn't really talk about it at the beginning.
Talk about a gender bent She-Hulk. This would be She-Hulk.
So who's smashing Daredevil? I think it's me because
I'll let you go ahead and take this one.
I mean, it's not like he'll be able to see anything, so at least it's better.
Right. That would be a real bait and switch.
But I mean, I love this. When I talked to Corey and I said, "Oh, we're doing She-Hulk," and he's like, "Oh, I have an idea," and I thought, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
And
I think you gave him the idea.
I kind of did, but I didn't say anything specific. It was just like, hey, involve, Daredevil, She-Hulk, and Jen all in the same picture. And that's all I said. And he was like, ah, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, oh no, maybe never mind. Let's talk about something else instead.
Right.
No.
Right.
But
again,
it's entertaining.
You asked for it. I think that is exactly what happened. We've never been too proud to make fun of ourselves here on this podcast.
No, there's that's one of my favorite things of the show is the little title cards every week when I see them, and it's just like, oh wow, that's good. That's a great one.
It's usually pretty self-deprecating.
Yeah, and that's half the fun of it, I think.
It is. I think Corey loves putting our heads on other people's bodies.
Yeah, and he's pretty good at it. I mean, looking at this, it's like, this is pretty cool. Daredevil's just back there like, yeah. He kind of looks like, wait a minute, you didn't look like that last night. Well, wow. Oh, I didn't save that one. You could show that. I didn't save it. I have it somewhere, but I didn't put it into the show thing.
I guess we'll need to do it for next time.
Yeah, or we could, throughout the show, I'll try to find it in the message that he sent me, and then I'll maybe share it or something. But okay, here it is. Actually, I'll go ahead and just screen share this real quick.
Let's go.
Because it's something. Let's see. How do I do this again? Here we go. I almost forgot how to do the feature. How to do this screen share. Let's see. So here we go, everybody. There you are. That's something.
That's you as Jamila Jamil.
Apparently, yeah. It's I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
feel like I'm
Steven,
pretty.
yeah, Steven, if you ever wanted to go drag, I guess that we would have the look for you.
Yeah, I'll need to shave a little bit there, but um, it's a good one. It's a good one. Oh. But speaking of pictures, I know I pulled a few pictures. Most of these are from the end of the show, so we could wait till we get to that. But I do have 3 images. I kind of thought last minute to like throw them out there
Okay.
because we got to see the finale.
So before
And I
we,
know
before,
normally, yeah,
yeah, no, before we talk finale though, I feel like season or episode 8 for me was probably my favorite episode
it was pretty
of
good.
all of them. And I know for a lot of people, knowing that Charlie Cox's Daredevil was going to at least make a cameo in the show, that had a lot of people, that's what they were watching the show for. Part of me worries that, much like the appearance of the Mandalorian in the book of Boba Fett, that the arrival of Daredevil in She-Hulk sort of upstages Jen Walters a little bit.
Yeah, I could kind of see how that might have that little bit of effect. I mean, I didn't feel like it did too much of that. I mean, it did a little, but I think it worked because it's they're both lawyers, so it kind of
right. They're definitely
worked.
there was a reason. There was a reason for him to be there, and I understand that. At the same time, I think part of the reason why that episode was so good was because we did get Daredevil. On top of it, it was Charlie Cox. It was the Daredevil that we had gotten to know and love in the Netflix series, and plus they had a pretty good fight scene.
Yeah, I've seen some criticism about the fight scene. I have, because so many people that are hardcore original Daredevil fans compare this fight in episode 8 to the hallway fight. And if you've seen Daredevil, you know the hallway. They were like, oh, that's nothing. This is crap compared to the hallway. I mean, yeah, sure. Compared to the hallway, of course, it's not great, but I think it's fitting for what the show is. I liked it.
What I think you have to understand that the Daredevil we see, he knows who She-Hulk is.
Yeah.
Right? He knows who she is. He doesn't want to hurt her. He knows that she's not a bad person. So what we really see from him is more him trying to just escape and get away and chase down the other guy.
Right.
So that's what we really see. I think that if his goal was, to attack She-Hulk and hurt her, it would have been a different kind of fight scene.
Exactly. Plus, Jen is not that used to being Hulk or fighting in long, really badass fights in hallways.
Yeah.
And another thing that makes that fight better is because of the fact it's contained in a hallway. So there's less you can do, but also a tighter room is kind of more exciting. It's more compact. There's more excitement and danger, and then what was that on a rooftop or whatever it was. So wide open space with 2 people, or like really tight hallway with like 10 people. Like that's right. It's going to be a different environment. So
it is certainly not the best fight scene that we've ever seen from Daredevil, but I think in a show that was in a show that has been kind of lacking as far as fighting is concerned, I think that interjected some energy that we needed to have.
Yeah. And who knows what happens going forward, in the next season, if there's a next season or a movie. I don't know. And we'll get to that in the finale because there's a lot to be said about some of the stuff that happened there.
Right. So what did you think of? Yeah. What did you think of the red and yellow suit?
I liked it. A lot of people are hating on it. Like, it looks stupid. It looks too goofy. Like, he had a yellow suit before. It's not. People just love that red suit. And I think they're criticizing the yellow and red suit like I was criticizing the homemade little like sweatsuit thing he wore in the beginning of the series.
Right.
Which is what kind of threw me out of the show at first until I really got into it. And I was like, okay, this is not that bad. But I think the yellow and red worked. There's debate on like that's his permanence, like that's like his suit. Like the red suit never existed in this version. He's not the same one as he was in the show, and that's still not officially answered. I don't think we could because I don't trust anything anymore until it happens on screen because I trusted that the Arrowverse was all connected, and now Superman and Lois is not the same thing. But
right. I mean, I think that again, that's the problem when you deal with the multiverse is that nothing is set in stone. Even minor slight differences, like the difference in in the outfit that he's wearing, can show us that okay, this is not exactly the same character that we've known before. So
I'm pretending until we get an official like moment that clarifies it, but I'm pretending that he just had that guy make him a new suit because he's going to be in a different area, so he wants to like debut a new suit, and so it's same guy. I don't know.
Right. So I did get some do some research on the suit itself.
No one in the hallway had a gun. That's true.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I had picked up. Number one is that the yellow and the red really are an homage to his father, right? That his dad, who was the boxer, those were the colors that came directly from his uniform. So Daredevil wearing the ketchup and mustard, right, is an homage to his father, which again I think that works out fine. The other one, gosh, I don't know what I had another one. Don't you hate it when you have a brain fart?
Oh, like yeah.
You absolutely know what you're going to say, and then you forget about it.
I've been dealing with that for 36 years.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I remember what I was going to say when I was 6 months old.
Right.
Wah. That's what it was.
No, you know what'll happen, though? It'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'll wake up and go, that's what I was going to go talk about.
Yep.
Shoot. Again, I don't know why I can't remember the other part of it. So it was like right there on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, definitely the red and yellow comes down to. I remember what it was. So if you remember in season 3 of Daredevil, they go up against Dex.
Yeah.
So Dex had essentially been Bullseye, right? And and Bullseye wore an exact copy of Daredevil's red suit, and he went around all over Hell's Kitchen committing crimes, but making it look like Daredevil was the one who was doing it. So, in my mind, you wouldn't want to keep wearing the suit that Bullseye had made look like a murderer. So there's the idea of rebranding to kind of change the public outlook a little bit.
I clicked the button. Oh wow!
You clicked the button. I guess now I'm the main person. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know. I think I just clicked this button. I was like, what did that do? I'm sure there's a way to click it back and forth to where like I thought about that with guest episodes where they're talking, give them the whole screen and then kind of cut back and forth, kind of like camera cuts. But I haven't figured that out yet. So one day we'll figure that out.
All right.
But yeah, I think the suit's great. I mean, and the fact that they tied in like one guy making suits for all these other people leads to potential of like, oh, he made Spider-Man suit, or he didn't, but like maybe he makes the X-Men suit, the Wolverine suit. Maybe he makes this guy's suit, that guy's suit, this girl's suit. Who knows?
Right. Well, and cool. when they first introduced the fashion designer, to the whole storyline, I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Yeah. But I will say, bottom line is the fact that, that really being the tie-in that gets, Daredevil into the whole mix of this thing. I think that's important. Plus, I do think that it kind of brings things full circle. Jen had been looking for somebody to kind of bring into her life that would like her for who she is as a person and not necessarily like her just because she turns into She-Hulk.
Right.
And you know, uh, Matt Murdock doesn't care about what she looks like. I mean, that's
Well, he can't even see her, so it doesn't matter.
right. Um,
Blind
so
joke.
I know, but I think it's relative to the idea here of the story.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they end up hooking up, and that it's not a one night stand, right? That he sticks around.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of what Jen needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think she really needed that. You know, I was wondering because I don't really know the history of the She-Hulk comics. I know little bits. I know the fourth wall kind of things and this and that. But I don't know if Matt Murdock and She-Hulk had ever been a thing in the comics. So I don't know if people are like, that's an outrage because they weren't supposed to be together, or, oh, that's fitting. I don't know. Because I meant to look it up, but I completely forgot. I was curious when I watched that episode 8, but I wasn't sure. Did they need French fries? I mean, well, he had the ketchup and mustard already, so. And she had the buns. He had buns too. I'm not gonna say too many jokes because I'm gonna dig myself a hole like I always do.
Well, I mean, why start now?
Well, she did the twerking. It's not my fault.
Right. So here's what I got. In the comics, She-Hulk and Daredevil never had a romantic relationship. But they have teamed up a couple of times. So
well,
it is.
I mean,
they are taking a little bit of artistic license.
I mean, of course they're going to, but I just, it's nice that there's some kind of link, and not just completely do like. Well, I was gonna say an Arrow where he that whole Felicity character, like I don't even know if she existed in the comics. So they were just like, oh, here he, and everybody hated that part of it. Well, not everybody. I thought it was great, but. And I think I'm frozen again. Oh, no, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, just a little bit of lag, but you're fine.
Good. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great that they kind of stretch it a little bit because you can't just make an exact copy. I've always thought that. You can get close, but you got to make something a little different to, attract a wider audience,
Right.
But
so I think that we're kind of in that place where, we talked about episode 8 and the introduction of Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox, and their fling, which I think has sort of set the internet on fire.
Yeah.
The kind of the last part of episode 8 takes place at the gala.
Yeah.
And
I think for
a lot of us, we had thought that the gala was not going to be all that major of an issue. She had showed up, I guess, to get a female lawyer of the year award, and and then she gets up on stage, and she's presented with all of these private photos and videos of herself.
Yeah, that was
and and then she ends up hulking out.
Really hulking out.
Yeah, and so like her losing it and going green privately is one thing. Her doing it at a public event when she's on camera, that had a lot of consequences to it, right? And that kind of led us right into the finale.
I love some of those fourth wall moments where like you think the episode is over, and she makes this comment of like, doesn't it feel like this episode should be over? And I was like, it does. And then she knew what I was thinking. So,
yeah.
It's just good writing. I mean,
I definitely feel like they put a lot of cleverness into the story. I'll give my final assessment of She-Hulk Attorney at Law at the end. But I do find that the way that they wrote it was clever. So
it really was, yeah. That's why I like the fourth wall stuff, because they do it in a way where it almost reminds me of something like Saved by the Bell, where he stops and talks to the camera, and then it's like la 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 la, and then goes back to it. And you feel like those moments are just for you, and they don't really affect the story. So that's great. I think it's
Yeah.
smooth the way they do it.
Well, I mean, it's true. Fourth wall breaking has been part of the reason why it's such a big deal is that that it's sort of like Theater 101. You don't break the fourth wall,
Right.
right? That you're it's a rule that you're not supposed to interact with the audience. That it's supposed to be like the audience and the actors are completely separated from each other. And
Mhm.
so this idea of breaking the rules and making it seem like you are interacting directly with your viewers, um, that is kind of like the writers, poking fun at the viewers. And I do feel like the part of what makes She-Hulk interesting is it does really kind of like stick its finger in the eye of all of its haters. They knew when they were making this show that there were going to be a lot of people
Oh yeah.
who were going to hate on it, right?
I mean, 30-something% on Rotten Tomato audience score. That's not great, but I mean, I just because Rotten Tomato has like a 30-something% doesn't mean anything to me. And then really, a lot of people base what they want to watch on what their friends tell them. Like, oh, it's great. Oh, good. I hate it. Like, I'm not going to watch it. Like, I always listen to those things, but I also choose for myself. I'll watch it, and then I'm like, nope. Because I've known people that said Ghostbusters 2016 is great. I'm like, you're a liar.
I have never heard anybody say that before. That's unbelievable. But
I've heard a couple of people.
Here's my issue. Like, you watch a show and you watch it from beginning to end, and you know what? I think that you are in your own right, if you've watched the whole thing, to say, after I've watched it, it's just not my cup of tea, and I don't like it because of these things. But the show hadn't even come out yet, and people were already hating on it, before episode 1. And even when they had episode 1, they had already made up their minds that they hated it.
Right. I mean, Corey has a good point here. He says, it had its good points, but the issue I have is that it seems like we got 3 or 4 episodes of show spread out into 9 episodes, and I wanted more screen time or longer episodes to flesh out the story more. I could agree with that. Yeah. I don't think that it was a bad show. I do think that it was a slow-moving show, so there was this much content stretched over this much time.
And if I were to ask you, Stephen, if I were to ask you this serious question, what is She-Hulk about? What was the plot of season 1? What would you tell me?
I would probably say like something like she says in the first episode, this is the lawyer show. Get ready, because it's actually going to be a lawyer show.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so that's what I expected. And so it wasn't that it was bad, but it's still like they tell you from the beginning, this is what it's going to be, but you still expect it to be more. I don't know.
I think that my issue, and I know this is turning into a little bit of a review, this is She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
She has super strength. She's got invulnerability. She's one of the most powerful people on the planet. It would be a shame to not see more of that on display. And I realize that this, especially episode 1, is really her origin story, and you can't just get right to her being a member of the Avengers, in her origin story. That said, they given us 9 episodes. It would have been great to give her some more opportunities to show us what she can do. And I think that's what was lacking a bit in the series in general, was just the fact that there wasn't enough substance.
Right. I like boring lawyer shows, so I really do, like Law and Order or CSI, things like that. Like, I always try to watch those, and when I try to race the show and figure out who raped the girl or whatever before they come to that conclusion. And so that's the kind of vibe I felt from She-Hulk. Not like, oh, who raped who, but like that sort of, let me figure this out, like what's going on, lawyer type show. So I liked it because of that. But then again, like talking about it makes me realize, It felt more like Law and Order than it did a Marvel Comics type thing.
Right.
Which they told us from the very first episode that's what it was going to be.
They did.
And we still hoped for more for some reason, but
right. Again, I do think that they did let us know from the beginning that this is going to be a comedy.
Yeah.
It is going to be a comedy. It's meant to be funny. It's meant to be lighthearted. Though I do think that they do get a lot into Jen's search for identity. Just because she didn't deal with it in exactly the same way that Bruce did. She wasn't necessarily dealing with controlling her rage, but still trying to figure out, who is Jen Walters if there's She-Hulk. I did think that kind of journey for her as a character was important. And then she kind of finally gets to that place for herself by the end. I think that was good.
Yeah, and they know we're going to see the character again at some point, whether they make a season 2 or maybe there's a new Avengers movie or something where when we do see her again, I really do think that toughness and the fighting and all that's going to be more fleshed out, I think. Yeah. Because this was like the first 8 episodes was really, and some of 9 too, I guess. The whole season really was her origin story.
Right.
And of course, with an origin story and you only have 9 episodes, you're going to see a lot of that, like those growing pains. Like, what do we do? How do we do this? Hey, Matt Murdock, come to my room. So I really love that moment because I like Matt Murdock. And then right after that, he leaves her house and goes to save Spider-Man. Or maybe that happened before. I don't know, but yeah. That's why he was so excited to catch the brick because he just came from Jen's house.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, season 2, episode 9. Of course, what happened in 8 led to 9 because she's hulked out, and then the government or whoever like grabs her, and we see her like now she's the one captured. She's the one like
talk about a reversal, right?
Yeah,
she's now in the same container that she had seen Abomination in. That's crazy. I think we all know that she's not a danger to anybody, but it's the problem. It's the problem when you're a superhero who doesn't have a secret identity. Everybody knows that Jen Walters is She-Hulk. And so if Jen does something, if She-Hulk does something, then Jen is going to end up paying the consequences for it.
Right. And before we get too far into the finale, what did you think about that intro, the little nod to the classic Hulk series? I love
I thought that was great.
I heard about it, but I hadn't seen it yet. So I watched it and I'm just like, oh, this is great. They had it down to every little, they made it look old, like from the 70s, 80s. Like it had that classic look to it. It was awesome. Yeah, and it showed kind of, there was a debate I've heard from different people of why did they use a poor CGI She-Hulk, which I didn't think it was that bad, but it wasn't as good as the Hulk itself. They were like, why didn't they just use a painted up girl? Well, in the intro for episode 9, they did have a completely different woman painted up green as She-Hulk. And I thought, that's great. They were poking fun at the people like, you should do this instead.
Right. No, I liked it. Growing up in the, born in the late 70s and growing up in the 80s, Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk. Right.
Yeah.
And he didn't need CGI. He just had green body paint, in order to Hulk out. So yeah, I really did like that nod to the classic Hulk. That was really cool.
Even the theme song, I think the sounds, I don't know if it's the same exact music, but it was very similar. The whole tone of it. And I was just like, man, they should open every episode with that.
Right. I agree.
Oh my gosh. I did not see that before I said what I just said. It is real.
You're sharing one brain.
I guess because we're in this thing together, it was almost word for word what I said before I wasn't even, wow, that's amazing. But yeah, never doubt magic.
Nope.
Or psychic magic, whatever. But yeah, She-Hulk finale. Wow, I just thought that was really funny. I was like, that's almost exactly what I just said.
I know, it's great. Yeah, so for the finale, Jen ends up losing. Not only does she have to wear that device that keeps her from transforming, but she also ends up losing her job.
Yeah, and she's like, part of the sentence was like she didn't go to prison or anything. They agreed to like let her have her life, but you like you said, the little dampening thing. She was permanently sentenced to never use the She-Hulk powers ever again.
Right.
And that was like, what? How are you gonna? And of course, knowing the show is called She-Hulk, that's not gonna stick. We all know that going in. We just don't know how we get to that point.
Right. Well, and again, we see the Abomination get whisked away by Wong. I'm gonna guess that maybe in order for She-Hulk to do what she has to do, she might have to leave her parents' house in order to make that happen. That's going to be my guess.
Oh man, yeah. I can't remember exactly which. What a crazy episode, the finale. There was so much going on, and it got so confusing. And I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but when they froze it, she's like, "Wait a minute, back out," and it goes back to like the Netflix or no Disney Plus. Sorry, the Disney Plus menu with all the Marvel shows on it. I'm like,
right.
I thought I like backed out and went to the menu. I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, did I sit on my remote again?
Exactly. And then she comes out of the little square and she's like cycling through all the different things. And then she ends up storming the writer's room. This is just one little screen I grabbed from that. I think it's pretty awesome that they did this.
Now
she's storming the writer's room, all this stuff.
What I really wonder, and what I think would be really cool, is to find out if that was the real writer's room for She-Hulk, or whether these were actors playing the writers.
That's what I was wondering when I was watching it, because it looks like a legit writer's room.
Oh yeah, I mean, you would think that they would know exactly what the writer's room would look like.
Yeah,
but that is the question. Did they merely recreate the writer's room, or did they film this in the actual writer's room?
That would be interesting to find out. I love all the art and the concepts and stuff on the wall. Of course, I was trying to read the little note cards, but there's no way that you can make those out. But I did notice right above this writer here, there's a picture that kind of looks like Superman. And I know that's a completely different universe.
Right.
But maybe it's Doctor Strange. I don't know. But it's hard to make out. But I'm like, Superman? But there's no way it's actually Superman.
No.
But I love that scene.
No, I agree. Well, and it's not just simply because, I mean, again, the character, characters don't typically go and speak directly with the writers, right? But I love that. I love the cleverness of that.
And Corey has a good point again. He says, so Josh, the real Hulk King, is still out there, and so is her blood, because earlier in the finale episode, he ends up like stealing her blood to kind of create his own like Hulk powers. And then that's when it gets crazy. And here he's doing this, and then the Hulk comes in, Bruce is back, and all this stuff's going on. Everybody's like, what the hell is going on? And that's when she, like, I guess, I forget how she leaves, but she just jumps out of the show and goes into the writer's room and all that. Like, this is ridiculous. This is how you end my show?
It was almost like she was saying that she was like, this isn't how the story goes, or this isn't how I want it to go.
Yeah, it's like, I'm the star, so do the show the way I want it to be done.
Right. Well, and I think that was part of my issue that I had with the whole arc of the show was the big battle we were all waiting for at the end. And maybe that was the joke she was playing on us a little bit. It was she was going to deny us that big giant battle at the end, but there was still no resolution, right? There was still no resolution of that. So you're right. There's still that guy out there who has who's become a Hulk using her blood, but we really didn't get a resolution to that story at all.
I think, and that's what a lot of people are complaining about, and that's I think, a fair point. But I think this whole season was just a lead into something else. It's going,
Right.
it's going to be like either season 2 or She-Hulk the movie, and because they make a joke when she goes to talk to Kevin, and that I loved that scene. That whole
No,
storm
that
in the
was,
writer's room, and then she
and then
goes like, "Where's Kevin?" And then she goes down all these hallways, and like you think you're going to see Kevin Feige, and I'm like, is Kevin Feige actually going to be in the episode? This is going to be cool. But it's a robot. Spoilers.
it's a robot, and it was hilarious because it's got on the camera itself, on the top of it, it looks like it's got like his iconic hat that he always wears.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
It's just it's like a super artificial intelligence that turns out nobody writes the movies. This Kevin robot just randomly pumps them out. So Endgame, oh man, a robot completely wrote and produced that movie. Pretty good.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if there were, some stories they just let computers write.
Yeah, I mean some of them. Naomi.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah. I know Kevin did.
Yeah.
Even Kevin couldn't do something that bad. No. But no, I love that whole bit. And then he finally says, "Okay, yeah, here's your ending. What do you want?" And that's when we leave it. Like everything boiling up just kind of got erased. They erased it all, pulled this out, pulled that out, did this, did that. And then she's just, next thing you know, she's all happy, like being a lawyer, like la la la. It's like, what? Like, where's the ending? Where's this? Where's that? But I love some of the jokes.
Right.
She mentioned, like, they teased the She-Hulk movie, and in the room with Kevin, she's like something about wait for the movie. There's going to be a movie? No. Or whatever. Like, you don't know what to take seriously from that scene.
Right.
And
she also, she also had made like a little, in the middle of a fourth wall break where she's talking to the AI version of the director. She also then turns to the audience and makes a comment about the X-Men.
Yeah,
which is like about that. It's like the second time or third time where they've talked about the X-Men in one shape or another. Like when we were looking at Miss Marvel, they had played that the X-Men, the 90s X-Men TV show theme music. When we find out that she's a mutant, right? So, not the first time that they have teased us with the X-Men here for these Disney Plus shows.
Here's another good thought that I never really heard before. But, hearing that some of the characters, like, say, Wong and Matt Murdock, might actually be Skrulls because of the upcoming Secret Invasion. We already saw the Skrull Nick Fury. And that's a good point. That this Matt Murdock could be a different Matt Murdock, but it's not really Matt Murdock. He's a Skrull. Or, I think that would be cool. I think that would be a cool way to do it.
I think it's definitely possible. Madison could definitely be a Skrull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The twerking itself could be a Skrull.
It could be. Absolutely. I would not
never
doubt that at all. So I feel like by Jen breaking the fourth wall and going directly to the writers of the show and then talking with AI Kevin, she ends up getting the happily ever after maybe that she wanted. That's why essentially it ends with them having a barbecue at her parents' house. It reminded me, right there. It reminded me a lot of the ending of Fast and
the Furious. See, we had the same thought. Oh my god.
Yeah, yes. Definitely reminded me of, F9, where it's like it's all about family.
Exactly, the exact vibe I got. But the big thing that came out of that, was, we saw Hulk come back earlier, but turns out she erased that, so it never happened. And think about it. Where was She-Hulk in Endgame? Or not even Endgame, but Infinity War? Because she could have been like, hold on, Thanos killed half the population? No. Where's Kevin? Boom. Everyone's saved.
Yeah.
But anyway, Hulk comes back, and we see Bruce again with a huge revelation, a huge introduction. His son, Scar. What? That was amazing. I didn't think they would introduce that, but they did.
So I'm glad that they've introduced Scar. I know that for a lot of people, his introduction, harkens the idea that we're going to get a World War Hulk kind of storyline at some point in the future. That said, I think that they're doing comparisons between what Scar looks like in the comics and that picture where he looks kind of pathetic. It's like, where does he go to get his hair done? Stupid cuts.
I know. It almost looks like really bad CG or really bad Photoshop, because it looks like the hairline is there, but someone forgot to blend the front of it, so it's like transparent over hhis real hair. I don't know. Or maybe the hair layer is a layer too low. Maybe it was supposed to be over the foot. But yeah, it just looks so weird.
Could you imagine going to your barber and saying, I would like you just to shave off the front part of my head, make it so that it's like a Q
like
cut,
this.
a crew cut. Yeah, but then I want you to leave it long in the back and do that on purpose, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Again,
it's weird.
I know. I think that I'm like a lot of people that we've had a lot of the chill, smart Hulk. I am ready to finally see Bruce Banner lose it and go full Hulk again here. And I'd like to see the same thing for his son.
And how old is his son? Because he looks like he's at least, I would say, at least in his 20s. If I had to make I know he's a Hulk.
Right.
He could be a 5-year-old hulked out, but he still seems like he's in his 20s or so.
So remember what we know about Sakaar, where Hulk had been? That time there moves differently. And
that's
so,
true.
we know that people there, you really don't age. And so that's a lot of it. I think that it's very possible that he could have fathered a child and then left, and then the kid has grown up in what would be to us a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, that
I think
could
that's
be
a lot of it.
I think it's great though, and I don't know in the comics of like his kids. I know he has a daughter too in the comics. I don't know, who knows if she's introduced in this or not. But I mean, I would assume maybe. But what's it going to take for Hulk to finally lose it? Because he spent years perfecting the way to get himself to be a nice blend of both. And we've seen that he has a device or had a device that would turn him back into full human Bruce. So what's it going to take for him to completely freak out and just go back into full rage Hulk? Maybe the death of a child?
I don't know. Possibly. I mean, my issue has been that if stopping Thanos from destroying the world and killing everybody that you know isn't a big enough threat to make him go full on Hulk,
right?
I don't know what is. So you're right. There has to be maybe a personal stake in the game that's going to make him kind of wake up and realize that it's time to fight back.
I mean, I guess he could at any moment. I don't know, but it's going to take something.
Now, one interesting thing that you probably don't know is the actor who is playing Scar. We've actually met that actor before because he was a character on Stargirl.
Yeah, I thought he looked familiar, the face. I know it's CG, but they put the faces. Like Mark Ruffalo's face is clearly there. Jen's face is in She-Hulk. I can't place it though.
I know. So the actor, and I'm trying to look it up. The actor is it's actually the kid who was doing the card tricks. He was the wizard's son.
Hmm. Okay. I vaguely remember that. I don't think he had a large role, but I do remember.
He didn't. However, that is kind of the tie-in for me. Is
That's
okay.
cool.
I realize that, but yeah, he doesn't pop up on on my list of characters here for the show. So
It's still pretty cool though that he's there, that he had that connection.
yeah, it would not have been. I mean, it would have been a kind of a surprise a little bit.
And that's a good idea. Like, how could the Abomination and the control over Abomination? How was writing haiku really what caused him to be like, oh, I can control this? Like, there has to be something else there, or maybe he could control it the entire time, and it was just a big scam. I don't know. That's a good question, though.
So I feel like we're kind of near the end of this, but I did want to give like my final assessment. And I think there's a space in here now. When I look at kind of the online presence for a lot of people that are commenting, people seem to be, they either really really love She-Hulk and what it does, or they really really hate She-Hulk and everything that it stands for, and there's not a lot in between. But I'm kind of a moderate in a lot of things. If there's a halfway point in something, I can usually find it, which is, I think, where I stand in this. I can kind of see people that have some issues with the show, because I think that some elements of plot and character and action have been sacrificed in exchange for cleverness, which I do think. I think that when you compare She-Hulk with other Disney Plus shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when you compare it to WandaVision, I think that it doesn't quite hold up in comparison. That said, if you watch it and you're expecting a lighthearted, lawyer show that you're not going to take too seriously, I think it can be enjoyable, right? But I do get the criticism. But I do like the cleverness. I do like that the sense, or that search for self and identity, and as an origin story for Jen that none of us knew going into this, really. I liked it. I still find myself giving it a rating somewhere in the 6, maybe 6.5 out of 10 range for the show as a whole.
I think I would go for a 7, because I think I'm kind of similarly in your position, where I'm on the middle, but I'm a little bit further towards good, to where the good side and then the bad side. I am in the middle, but I'm more towards the liking it more than not liking it. So maybe right around the 60% line as far as in between. So I would give the show about a 7 out of 10. Okay. But I love those. I love those fourth wall kind of like, let's pretend that this is not real and I'm here, but the character's real, but they're self-aware, and I love that. I wouldn't want everything to be like that, but in small doses, I think it's great. And we haven't really seen that much since Deadpool, and when Deadpool 3 coming, oh, this is gonna be good. But because we're gonna have Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. Oh my gosh, yay! I would love to see the three of them together, or just She-Hulk and Deadpool. That would be amazing.
I know, it would just be like one big giant fourth wall break.
Yeah, they're going to build a fifth wall and break that. But yeah, it's that kind of like fourth wall comedy like would not work in Spider-Man. It would not work in I don't know, Superman, the DC stuff. Like, it wouldn't work in a lot of ways, but with a character like that, it's built for that. It's written that way. I think Guardians of the Galaxy wouldn't even be able to pull it off, because that's the more lighthearted, like fun of the Marvel stuff. But even then, it's like, okay, they have a serious, maybe not Groot, but maybe Rocket could be like, come on, they really think that gun's gonna work or whatever, like, and talk to the camera. But I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but like, I do love when those kinds of characters come out, because it does remind me of like more 90s style stuff because like
Right.
90s characters always
Right.
seem to like look at the camera like, do you believe the principal is making me stay, or do you believe my mom's making me wash the dishes? Oh, and then they go along with what they were doing. I like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited to see. Okay, this is interesting. Corey says he's giving it a 5 out of 10 because he only gave us half episodes. So we have a 5, a 6, and a 7. Or no, you said 6.5, 7. So
Yeah, I'm 6.5.
Okay, 6.5, so 5, 6.5, 7. That's interesting. Close, but we've each have our own little take of what would bump it either way. I do think it would be an 8 easily if they were to add more action. And
I agree.
Kind of not have a weird finale. Although the finale was hilarious, it was great, but it we've all agreed, it doesn't really conclude or wrap up anything, other than let's eat and have dinner, and now tonight She-Hulk smashed Matt Murdock again, which is satisfying. I'm sure I wasn't there or anything, but I I would imagine. But yeah,
it left a giant loose thread. And the bad guy that they had been setting up for the entire time, we don't know what happened with him.
Yeah.
So that's my question in the whole thing. Did Jen change the story to give the ending that she wanted, or did that still really happen? And that's the problem that I've got is I just don't know.
I was led to believe, like, what I took from it was anything that happened before she got to the gala, anything that happened before that moment happened, it was just the ending that she changed. So like the rest of the episode still happened the way it happened. And that there's some proof to that because Matt Murdock's there with her at the end, and they had met earlier before, like in the previous episode. So like I don't think she altered anything beyond that moment. But still, so her blood theoretically would still be floating around somewhere. So we're going to get other Hulks, and that's probably where their version of it comes from. It's not like there's a planet Hulk, which there is in the comics and stuff where all the Hulks live and everything. But maybe their way on the cinematic universe is to like, okay, well, we all get the blood from Jen. So now, but like she said, that's like in every movie ever. I'm pretty sure he's just grabbed super soldier serum, like, and that's true. So in a way, I hope they don't go with that, but I don't know.
Well, we do know that Harrison Ford is being cast as General Ross, who is Red Hulk. So we do know that there are more Hulks that will be kind of introduced here to the storyline.
That's going to be interesting. Harrison Ford is Red Hulk. I mean, I don't know how many Hulks they actually had. I know they had a Gray Hulk, Red Hulk, She-Hulk, and then Hulk's kids. But that's really all I remember. I know there's probably way more, but I'm not too familiar with a lot of them.
I think we're just going to have to wait and find out.
Yeah. And before we go, I wanted to mention to everybody, a couple of weeks ago, we did an episode with Scott Sheffield and Marilyn Gigliotti talking about Clerks 3. And that was a fun time, great episode. Since then, I want to say 2 days ago, Clerks 3 released on digital platforms. So you can go now and buy Clerks 3 on digital. It's $14.99, I believe, most places. I bought mine through Google Play so I could watch it within the YouTube.
On the interwebs.
Yeah, it's so much easier for me to pull it up on YouTube. There's other ones like Vudu, Amazon Prime, so many other digital platforms that you could buy it on. So I plan on buying the physical release in December when it comes out. Best Buy has a really cool 4K Steelbook exclusive. I'm not usually too huge on Steelbooks, but the art on it's really cool. So I kind of want to get that. And watching Clerks 3 in 4K is weird because this is the first movie that Kevin Smith has done that is in 4K. Like, this is the first 4K anything like that. So it's like, this is interesting. So some of those moments, just seeing the pores on their face make it really hit home. It's so sad. Watch it. But it is good. It really is such a good movie. I've seen it 3 times in total now.
Nice.
Yeah, I've watched it every day. I watched it yesterday, I think. And then I watched it. I didn't watch it today, but I watched it Friday, yesterday, and then when it released a month ago, or whatever it was. And I'm probably gonna watch it again at some point before the week's over, before this next week's over. It's a good movie.
People,
check it out.
people need to go and watch Clerks 3 if they haven't. Give us your review if you like it. Let us know what you guys thought of She-Hulk and the finale. And then, don't forget to subscribe.
All the fun little handles at the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Twitter. I almost forget this is here. Like, I remember to click it, and then I forget about it until it's over. I wish YouTube had a better system of saying, like, at this or whatever, but it's like youtube.com/user/2252 ? Block. All these weird, like, URLs. They don't have an easy, like, I don't know if youtube.com/between a pod and a hard place would work. I don't know if that goes to that, but yeah. And Mark Guggenheim. Let's not forget about Mark Guggenheim.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. We haven't talked to him in a while. Hopefully we can get him on here again soon and see what his thoughts on all this Warner Discovery mergers and this and that. The death of the CW, basically. And Cartoon Network, I just saw, is officially not dead, but it's no longer an independent studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, it's part of that whole Warner Discovery conglomerate now. And so I'm sure they still have Cartoon Network, and they'll still have that Cartoon Network name, but it's just not, it's going to be like Warner Brothers Studios and just pumps out the name. And so it's changing a lot. So that's interesting to see where it goes. Hopefully good places. But hopefully we can see Speedy Gonzalez race against the Flash.
Yeah.
Because they are the same people. So why not? We need it.
Make it happen.
Eric Wallace, I know you've got 1 year left, and I know you don't have anything to do with the cartoon stuff, but yeah, on your last year at work, can you please tell them to get Speedy Gonzalez and do a race against the Flash in the finale? Everyone would love it. And then have Barry and Iris kiss saying, "We are the Flash," and credits. That would be the best fun. No, don't do that, please.
Yeah, I think that would be Drunk Barry, absolutely. The rest of it, don't listen to him. All right. So, Steven, I feel like this is kind of our way of saying it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But it's been great.
Yes, and then next week we'll be here as long as nothing goes wrong.
Right.
I will never fall asleep on a Sunday.
Take a 4-hour nap.
And then wake up and stay up till like 6 a.m. and go back to sleep. That was a terrible day. Oh, never again. I'm going to set 2 alarms every Sunday afternoon to remind myself to not fall asleep on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah. All right. Well, it was fun. Follow us, and soon I can make you a mask, and you can buy it from me. I'm going to sell these $2,000 a piece. They're handmade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a real deal.
But wait, there's more. No, there's no more. Those aren't for sale. I'm pretty sure I would get sued by Gene Simmons for selling that. But everybody have a good week. Go watch She-Hulk. Go watch Clerks 3. Go watch all this stuff, and let us know how you feel, except for the guy in the first of the show. Shut up.
Yeah.
We'll get Chris to hit you in the head with a nunchuck. Ask Corey. He'll do it. All right, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you next week. See ya.